Academica Media. From Academica Media Studios in Miami, Florida, it's Big Ideas in Education, a weekly recap of inspiration and innovation in your schools.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Big Ideas in Education. I am Dr. Sarah Boulos from Somerset Academy Schools, joined, of course, by Ryan Kairalla of Doral College. Hi, Ryan.
Hey, Sarah. Great to be chatting with you.
Yeah, great to be chatting with you. If you are listening, you might get the cozy sounds of thunder rolling by here in South Florida. And if you're watching, you can enjoy a cozy cup of coffee with us as we talk about something that Ryan really wants to bring up today. Tell us, Ryan.
Brace yourselves, folks. It is election season. And for many high school teenagers...
I think we know because our phones won't stop ringing, the texts won't stop coming in, and
God.
Every single advertisement is a political one.
And the emails, oh my goodness. Well, for many high school teenagers, Sarah, it is the first time that they will be eligible to vote. It's always an exciting time. And in a recent article in EdWeek, education writer Sarah Schwartz recommends that schools take advantage of this opportunity and help their students get to be participants in the democratic process. School-organized voter registration drives can be valuable here. From the article, quote, surveys show that teenagers are more likely than older adults to say that the complexity of the registration process deterred them from voting. But schools can be ideal venues to dispel some of that confusion and answer students' questions, end quote. The school setting also provides students with a neutral, nonpartisan space for students to learn about voting without facing pressure to pick a certain candidate or political party. While many states have policies in place to formalize school-based voter registration efforts, not all schools are getting the resources and support needed to make it happen. The article recommends that school districts should be creating support systems so that schools are aware of registration requirements and know how to get students ready to go to the polls. The article also recommends that schools have their students help out in designing voter registration campaigns on their campus because that'll get them more engaged in the process. That was a theme I was seeing a lot from reading this article and doing some outside research on this, Sarah, that these voter registration school-based campaigns need external support from school districts. This is a lot for schools to have to do on their own. The voter registration rules can be very complicated for new voters. Many of the teachers and administrators on a campus have been voting for years. They don't necessarily know what the requirements are to register for the first time. And so districts really have to pick up the slack here, provide a centralized space where schools can get support and information that those folks can then pass on to the students. And I love the idea of the students playing a role in creating materials and help leading these voter registration drives on their campus. What better way to get them involved in the democratic process?
Yeah, so I immediately, when you were talking about the difficulties of young adults getting registered for voting, I immediately was taken back to my own experience as a teacher. Although I never was involved in a voters registration drive as a teacher, what I have been involved in many times is helping students register for things like the SAT and the ACT. And
speaking of labyrinthian registration processes.
Yes, so you know what I'm talking about. If you are not familiar, the amount of time it takes for a person to register with the website and get all the information that is requested to be able to register for these exams is extensive. And I tell students it's going to take 45 minutes to an hour if you have all of your documentation in front of you, right? Which is, you might need your transcripts, you need your social security card, there are identification documents that you need in front of you. And having someone who knows what they're going to ask and walk you through it is not just comforting and good practice as far as an educator's standpoint, but I cannot tell you how many of our students, if they do not complete the process in front of us, they will never do it.
Yep.
That is a barrier that does not get crossed on their own, right? So if I say, well, I'm going to leave you here and you take care of the rest, crickets. It will not happen. And so it's disappointing sometimes as an educator when you know that the students in front of you have a desire to do something, but you see that these outside barriers are going to be prohibitive of them actually completing it. And just like voting, right? Or just like SAT registration, I should say, voting is a huge, important step for them. And it's something that this guidance is really needed. Now, I'm going to take another step and say, I wasn't really taught how to guide kids through the SAT registration process. I just remember how crappy it was for me when I was a student, and as a teacher sitting with some of my students and seeing, wow, it's quite an effort, as you mentioned, and just helping them step by step, calling the college board when I didn't know what to do, getting the guidance counselor in. So when you are making that call for outside support, who's going to do these trainings? Who's going to support us as educators? As you said, not only has it maybe been many years since we had to register to vote, we don't know what's required. Can we tell them ahead of time? You need to have this documentation, that documentation, get a checklist ready so that they know what they'll need to do. I think there are also a lot of misconceptions when it comes to voter registration, right? So do they have to be 18? When can they register? How long before an actual, November 7th election do they have to be registered for them to be legally able to vote in that election? Like, I can think of 1,000 questions that might come up for these students as they're starting to register, and an educator may not know the answer to any of those questions.
That's right. It has to be something where there needs to be procedures built. There needs to be offices built. There needs to be somebody at the district and on the school campus where this is part of their job description. It can't just be aspirational, right? A lot of these states that have passed laws saying that we need to create voter registration drives on school campuses, the law doesn't say much more than you have to do it, but there's no support, there's no procedures, there's no processes. Oftentimes, it's just a principal being given a stack of voter registration cards from the Secretary of State's office and assuming that principal is going to know what to do and have the time and resources to be able to do it. And given how important the democratic process is, some might say at least equally important to registering for the SAT, this is something that we want to make sure that schools are ready to do. And it's particularly now, Sarah, as you and I are always talking about how schools are trying to redouble their efforts in investing in civics education, right? We're hearing about civics a lot, more and more. We want students to learn civics. What better way to give students civics education than to make sure that they walk out of high school becoming participants in the democratic process and becoming voters?
Well said, Ryan. That's a great point.
Now, sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and while I have people on this topic, and maybe there are a few policymakers listening, I do want to throw in my completely out there crazy proposal for encouraging more young people to vote. And even though this is outlandish, every person that I've ever promoted this to goes, yeah, I'm down with that. I think I could go with that. I think we should lower the voting age to, 15, 16 high school students, specifically for school board elections. When I think about students, like who has the most to gain or lose from a particular person getting elected to the school board, it is students. And if we are serious about wanting to get more students registered to vote, I would imagine that lots of school board members who want those votes are going to make sure that policies are enacted at the district level to make sure that all of those students are registered to vote so that they can vote for that particular school board member and participate in those elections. But again, what better way to get students introduced to the democratic process by making them part of the democratic process in school districts?
That's an interesting point. At the very least, I know there will be like lots more donut holes at the high schools as the politicians come around and
can you imagine the
campaigning?
Yeah,
that I can definitely see.
I mean, there are a lot of high school kids who never even know who their school board member is.
Yeah,
I didn't know who my
that's a
school
great
board member
point.
was. I'm guessing they'll all know who they are now if they get to vote for them.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting point. And I think what we would probably see is the outreach of those school board members in the schools. So that I think would be the interesting pivot there that I don't know how much we see that today. I don't know. I really don't. I don't know what the stats are on that. I'm sure there are some school board members that are really, much more. Excuse me. I know there are some that are much more diligent about going out into schools than others, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see what that outreach would look like.
It'd be an exciting
Speaking a
development.
little bit of pivoting, I know we're going to pivot a little bit from what we usually do in the second portion of our show, where we usually bring in another article to talk about. You really have something on your mind that you want to talk about that's going to be taking place the week that this episode airs. What did you want to talk about, Ryan?
I feel a great amount of guilt about monopolizing your story for this
It's
week,
okay.
Sarah, but this is too exciting to not share. Many of you all, if you are Academica Media diehards, might remember that last year Academica Media did a 7-hour live stream from the Florida Charter School Conference. We parked ourselves right in front of the exhibit hall, interviewed way too many people to count, and managed to hold a live stream for the entire exhibit hall day at the conference and had an absolute blast. By the time it was over, we were all exhausted, but it was awesome. And so naturally, we had to do it again.
All I remember is ice cream.
Oh, that was the best.
If you watched the video of our live stream, you saw that Ryan and I were exhausted at the end of that, and we had to have some ice cream bars as we did our final session.
Oh, that getting to that finish line and sharing that ice cream bar with you in the middle of the live stream and having all those people on the internet watching us eat was a equal parts enjoyable, but also kind of strange experience.
Yes.
But I wouldn't have it any other way. So we're doing it again this year on October 20th, 9 Eastern to 4 Eastern on the Academica Media social networks, the Academica Media YouTube, the Academica socials. You'll be able to find this 7-hour live stream. Ralph Krauss from Edutainment Learning, our buddy, we always have him on the Academica Media shows, will be helping us out with the live stream, helping us interview people, bringing in a lot of great Nevada charter school people. It's going to be a blast. We're going to talk to a lot of people, and we hope it's going to be interactive. We're going to have chat and things like that. So if you want to talk to the people that we're talking to on the live stream and ask them questions, we're going to have a lot of experts in teaching and learning, policy making, education vendors, a lot of fantastic guests for 7 education-filled, fun-filled hours. I'm excited for it.
Absolutely.
I got to start catching up on sleep, though.
Yes. So if you're listening the day that this airs, you still have a little bit of time. If you want to join us at the Florida Charter School Conference, of course, you can go to fcsc.org.
I think they actually have the charterschoolconference.org domain name, if you can believe it.
I believe they do. So thank you for fact checking me on that one. I think I made a mistake, but there's still time if you want to
your
join.
domain might also be true too, but I think they have that.
There's definitely still time to join. I know that there are some amazing speakers going to be at the conference. I'm not at all biased when I say that there is a pre-conference session by Liliana Salazar, who is one of the most fantastic educators I've ever had the pleasure of working with. So if you have not already gotten the chance to get yourself over there, there is definitely still an opportunity to do so. And you'll have the added benefit of getting to witness and experience this 7-hour live stream that Ryan tirelessly puts together. It's a lot on his shoulders, and he's very dedicated to it.
Very excited for it. Just to correct, it is charterschoolconference.com to find out more about the conference. And for the Liliana Salazar fans out there, and I know they are a numerous and vocal bunch, Liliana will be hosting the live stream for 1 full hour.
Ooh.
So you have a Liliana Salazar hour, which I imagine will be the most popular one.
I was going to say, so if you only catch one, we know which one it'll be.
Yeah, that's like, I mean, I'm hosting a good chunk of it, and that might be the only hour I watch because she's the absolute best. And yeah, she's going to be doing the live stream for an hour, interviewing some great people for her Teach the Way They Learn podcast. It's going to be a blast. I'm excited for this. I love this conference every year.
Very excited to get so many new people and returning people engaged in this and learning. And I know I can just remember a year ago when we were there, that was actually the first time we had seen each other in person in, I don't know, 18 months probably,
Oh, gosh,
because we
that's
were
right.
stuck in quarantine for quite some time. So, once you get over the awkwardness of, oh, we're actually seeing each other in the flesh, it was a great time. And we actually had a panel there. And I'm still getting people reaching out from that panel. So it was a really great time to connect. And I look forward to other such opportunities. Ooh, if you're hearing the thunder, that's what it's like in South Florida, telling us that it's time to go. But I hope that you have the opportunity to still link in, connect. If you'd like to reach out to us using the hashtag BigIdeasInEducation or at Academica Media. Thanks so much. We hope you have a great day.
The views expressed on the preceding program have been those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Academica, its clients, staff, affiliates, or advertisers.